Welcome back, friends, to APAC North. It's our match of the day. FNATIC face off against Reject, our two Japanese teams going up against one another. FNATIC's chances to make it to the major, well, they are all done as of our last Playday, but Reject still have something to play for. Getting to 9 points puts them squarely in the top 4, where currently it's a massive tie with potentially 4 teams that are fighting for 2 spots. Something's got to give at some point. I'm FNATIC, your host. Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. With me are Fresh and Fabian. Gents, let's chat first up, but FNATIC, Fabian.
Yeah, I feel it's a bit of a team in free fall at the moment. They're just struggling hardcore, and the last 2 games, they haven't been any better than the first 4 games. So it's in a rough state right now. Their attacks have just been some of the worst probably I've seen in a really long time for a team that's supposed to be in the highest league. Right now, they don't look like they fit there. And with only 22% win rate on attacks, I don't know, winning 1 out of 5 attacks almost, it's just nowhere even remotely close to good enough.
There was a start, at the start of the season, we were starting to make excuses. And we were saying, maybe it's 1 game, maybe it's 2 games. This has been over 6 games. So it's been over a whole stage where the attackers sat at 22% win rate. It's not, it's not good enough. FNATIC know that's not good enough. As I said in the pre-show, I think they get this stage out of the way. They get Mag in, they start improving, and there will be improvement. But for this stage, we've got to say how it is. It has been poor.
And Reject are looking to capitalize on that poor form in this game. Are they not, Fresh?
They are, and they're on the back of 2 wins in a row, which at the start of the stage, if you'd asked me, a Reject's going to get a single win, I'd have said probably not. So they turned up, they got 2 wins in a row, they beat Fav and then they beat T1. So this is a fair team that they can beat. They can, in theory, get themselves in 9 points, stick themselves in the playoff mix with, all the head-to-head and tiebreaker rules that go on. And I think they've looked good. They play, I would say, alternative Siege, and they don't stop. It's very entertaining to watch. It can lead to times where they get caught out, though.
The first 4 games were, I was going to say garbage, but that's quite harsh.
You just said it.
But it was.
You did.
It was complete garbage. Like the 7-1 loss that they had against Sandbox was just, I don't know, it looked like it was complete rookies, which then again they are. So to expect too much from them might not be the case, but the weight that has been taken off their shoulders by getting these two first wins that they have now, 6 points, it's huge. And it's just, I think they're gonna thrive on that sort of relaxation and the freedom. Pressure is off them. It's not no longer, they're not last.
Mm-hmm.
A team that has all the experience in the world, they're behind them.
Yeah.
And they're playing them today.
So that's the relaxing part that they can have as Reject against FNATIC in this. In the end, there's still a trial for both of them. Reject want to show that they can get 3 points. FNATIC want to escape with something at the end of the stage. See, hey, we are improving. It will be fine. Then the map, usually in scrappy games, is very important. That's at least what we're hinting at, the potential for it. 9-map pool, 8 are out, 1 is left. Which one will it be? And we go for Oregon. A classic one here. Skyscraper is taken out of the way by FNATIC in the ban, and that puts Reject at a defense start. Oregon, Fresh, your thoughts?
Reject won it last time they played it. FNATIC also won it last time they played it. So Reject, obviously, that last game against T1, we saw the fawn with the M870 4K to start us off, and they play it in a less conventional way. FNATIC, however, played against Talon, managed to literally limp over the line by getting 2 attacks. So, not amazing for FNATIC. I think, starting attack there, they really need to, and we've said it every pre-game of FNATIC, they really need to get 3 attacks, at least, in my opinion.
They did play it in the Japan League this last week as well, and they won it 7-2. Then again, it was IGZ, which is the bottom-rated team in Japan League, so I don't know if it's that much of a comparison. I just want to see Reject win this game for the simple reason they have the head-to-head on both T1 and Fav on 9 points. So 9 points here from Reject, and we're going to have a very, very cool matchup for the end of the calculations.
It might come down to who wins how many rounds.
Yeah.
This is how close it can be. We're only going to tease it to this point because we don't want to say inconsistencies and things that may not be absolutely correct in case someone misinterprets it, which would be very easy.
I'm never wrong.
You keep telling
Fabian's just determining who goes to playoffs. Doesn't matter the rules.
Who goes to playoffs, Fabian?
Talon and Dam won for sure.
Well, he's not wrong.
Said I'm not. I'm never wrong.
He only says
my predictions I do on purpose incorrectly.
I predict Talon and Damwon Kia to make it to the playoffs.
Good for you.
That's a cold take if I've ever seen one.
Mr. Cold Takes himself is saying that.
When do I have a cold take? I'll give you a hot take. Damwon Kia and Talon will both go to the major. They'll go through playoffs and both get to the
come
major. There you go.
on! That's
How is that a hot take?
It's hotter than his
Honestly,
take.
The two best teams in APAC.
You've both just said, they're going to go to the
playoffs.
playoffs. I went one further.
How is it a hot take that the two best teams in the APAC North are going to make it to the major when 4 out of 8 teams go?
Because they might not.
all right. Well, Fabian Fresh, thank you very much for that. Not really, but let's toss it to our casters. They're ready for us. It's our match today, FNATIC versus Reject. We go to Oregon. We got Des and Ace. Enjoy.
What do we pay them for again?
Hot takes, apparently.
Very cold / lukewarm
takes.
Needs a minute or two in the microwave there for it to really become a hot take. But welcome to Game 2 of the day. This is going to be a bit of a saucy one, I think. Reject. A few of us have predicted them today. We think, okay, if you're going to bring down any team, it's going to be FNATIC. Is today the day, Tim?
I quite like the idea of Reject winning. I've actually predicted FNATIC myself, but I like the idea of Reject winning just for the chaos of
So you like it, but you won't stick behind it?
Yeah, just
Right.
for the chaos of it. I think if I look at a
Weak
league
committal.
table and I can see an opportunity for 3, 4, 5 teams to all end up on the same points, I think, right, let's have it. You know, I just remember back to the chaos we had at the Mexico Major last August. And it was
screamer.
like, this couldn't possibly happen. There's just this one outcome that will get us a rematch.
Well, it involved one of the teams here. It was Cyclops against Team 1. And for those who missed it back then, in order for there to be a tiebreaker game, I think it was Team 1 had to win 7-2 on Consulate, and there was some ludicrous rounds featuring Anaton Shield drop shots. They got the 7-2 scoreline, went to Chalet, and then Team 1 just smashed them, and that was a bit sad, really, to be honest.
That was that, but we're not saying that that's the sort of situation we're going to have today, but it's just my point. The excitement is there when you get all these teams finishing on the same points, and it really adds a lot of weight to the last couple of games that we've got as well, so a Reject win would be a very good thing for the day. FNATIC will be taking the bans. They are on the second attacker ban and will take the first defender. We've had Nomad go already for Oregon. Nomad not too big a ban choice for Oregon usually.
Not normally, no, but it could come down to the sort of lineups they like to play, which I'll have a look at in just a moment. It's not massively in FNATIC's wheelhouse, admittedly, so maybe it's more of a preference thing there. You see this quite a bit, to be fair, in APAC North, and we have done over the last 18 months or so. They'll ban away these operators that look to really shut down aggression, so the Nomad can disappear sometimes. Things like that will often come into play. Thatcher and Mirror are going to be the two bans coming out from FNATIC, though. Pretty staple bans on this map. We know that Mirror can make some sites almost impenetrable or very difficult to attack outright, and especially on Oregon down in the basement. You stick one in the freezer, stick one inside the cubby that looks down towards laundry. It's almost impossible to push through unless you're bringing smokes and really going for a Hail Mary all-in play.
Kaid ban with no hard breacher ban, so this is going to leave us with probably quite an open game here, I would expect. Those hatchers, walls, they're going to be particularly subject to those hard breach devices. They're going to be getting opened up very quickly, I would imagine. We've just got the Maverick brought along this time, but obviously there is the opportunity for attacker repick as well, so we might just see that change up a little bit.
Absolutely. Yura jumping straight onto the Ash, at least initially. Has gone back to playing this more aggressive entry kind of style historically, where we've seen him play a lot of things like the Zofia. Ash still functions a lot of the same roles, but we've seen him being more kind of up in the face of the opponent, which is maybe a sign of FNATIC trying to change a couple of things around here. A spicy one, really, Tim, is Chibisu coming along on the Capitao. Now, you look at that and think, Chibisu is the support player. They've got no real hard breach outside of the Maverick. Guarantee that's going to be coming in here with the hard breach gadget. You haven't got to worry about the Kaid, for example. So you can just roll on through and use those two to get a couple of hatches opened up, whilst the Maverick focuses on the other.
Yeah, exactly that. You know, you don't necessarily anymore need to bring those out-and-out hard breachers. You can look at this sort of hybrid approach and bring other useful utility along with you. And we know how valuable Capitao is, particularly with smokes and asphyxiation bolts at moving players around. It could make it a lot easier to get into areas like pillars, for example. If you get those asphyxiation bolts in there, light the ground up on fire, it's going to make it very difficult for any defenders to stick that area. At the minute, Yura's heading straight into the top floor, so they're obviously conscious of any potential roamers. Take and Salty are up there, so it's another one of those sort of aggressive defences we've been seeing recently on the basement of Oregon.
I love it. Over in EUL, we saw opponents playing this the other day, and they did a great job with it as well, wasting so much time, just really drawing in their opponents and, frankly, cakewalking their way through a couple of those sort of 3-floor roams. It did come with a player still sat inside a meeting, so you could fall back through that hatch, but here, by the looks of it, the drop-back point might be a little bit different. Lily starting to work his way in towards Freezer. Salty tucks into the left-hand side. It's a duel as old as time on this map. So it's about seeing who really wins out there to see who gets control of the white stairs.
FNATIC now have top floor pretty much. We've seen Take drop away. Salty also dropped into kitchen. So they've got that locked down. They just need to start getting aggressive, moving forward now, clearing out rear stage stairs. Take is still able to be dancing around at the top of those, and that's going to be Salty pushed away. So that's a good next step. He's going to look at moving his way back up Freezer stairs potentially. Just holds himself at the bottom. Probably just hold on to that angle with the shotgun, but we've got rear hatch just being controlled by Reject at the minute.
Yeah, probably going to drop their way down now as well. They came back down the big tower stairs, and then rather than beelining straight into the basement, they're waiting, I think, for things like the castle barricade that's been set up inside a split to be cleared away. That's then their indication to go back. But they have wasted a good 1 minute and 40 seconds or so here for the side of FNATIC. And as a team that struggles on the attack, beautiful play so far from Reject. Have also chewed them down, Tim, to just 3 drones left in back pocket.
That's it, and there's a lot of work to do for the attackers when they're heading down into the basement. They've got to clear Sharko spot, they've got to clear pillars, they've got to clear Freezer so that they can look at getting a plant down in the default spot. There is still lots to be done, and with 45 seconds left to go and no kills registered on the board yet, FNATIC are going to be really up against it here in terms of the clock. They're heading themselves into bunker des, but there's 40 seconds left on the clock. They haven't begun to deal with anything yet. Elbow is clear, so it will allow them to move in reasonably quickly, but this is going to come down to a last 30-second bloodbath.
It's going to come down to a drop through E-box more than anything else, Tim, as well, which is just risky as all hell. They've got 3 members now moving over towards construction side. Yura does still find the entry, though, which is what FNATIC need. But what else you can do with it? That was the man sat inside of Freezer. Taraneki comes out for one, but there's no one coming down big tower, so there's no one else to contest him. He can just hold these angles and find a couple of kills, but Light swings in first, gets the kill back, down to a 3 versus 3, and we're into the final 5 seconds. Smoked out, they've got to step their way through the soft wall to look for the plant. Smoke's over the top as well, but the Freezer's a big hit for them as well here. They can't get inside the door in time. They were looking for the plant, but just couldn't quite stick it. Reject taking round 1, but it got a little bit closer than we'd have liked at the end there, Tim.
It did. Reject, really, they won that round in the first minute and a half by burning so much time. As we said, coming down, it was just always going to be touch and go for FNATIC, and when you leave yourself to 5 seconds left on the clock to put the diffuser down, you always run that risk. And Light took a little pot shot into Freezer, didn't hit his man, so even if he does get the opportunity to start putting that diffuser down, there is a good chance that he just gets picked up straight away from Freezer door anyway, and FNATIC just leaving themselves with too much to do and too little time to do it. So we're going to head into round 2. We'll see if FNATIC can... I'm not really being too critical of FNATIC there, because I'm going to say, I'm going to see if they can do anything any quicker, but I look at that last round and I think, what could they really have done much quicker? They got straight into top floor, they forced Salty and Take out, they then forced them out of the mid floor, they got the hatches as soon as they were able to. It's just that defence is becoming a bit of a problem. Like you say, with Simpones use it, all of a sudden teams seem to have woken up from this slumber of turtle defences on Laundry and have said, let's get out on the roam, let's cause a bit of a problem. And right now, for attacking teams, it is causing a problem.
I think a lot of it probably comes down to caution as well. You don't want to go charging into a room and get yourself blindsided and taken out. That can be really, really painful. They had the mute on side last round. This time round, it's going to be the Mozzie, so still looking towards a little bit of denial, but it's more up towards Salty holding in big tower. So stall tactics are still a thing, and Shibisu's been taken out early on. And Tim, he was one of their hard breachers. That Habana being gone likely means now the walk-in wardrobe wall stays closed, because chances are Meryu, in fact, no, he's going to go himself over towards that side. They're going to leave APAC closed in this case, Tim. So Salty, not going to be too effective up there by himself, but should now find himself rotating back down to the rest of the map to come and join his team for the defence.
It's a big pickup. It is a big pickup for Reject, but Salty is going to be downed before he can get back there. Whether there's going to be an opportunity for them to finalise this kill or not, almost certainly, as he's up on T3, Nade goes in, that's job done. Yura, he levels things up and gives a little bit more access to those upper floors of the big tower, but as you say, unlikely that FNATIC choose to push in there realistically. But it does mean at least that they don't have to worry about the windows and those long angle peaks. Now they can use the double window, which Yura is going to start doing, and they can start looking to aggress it. They do have a man up in Big Tower again. It's been replaced. It's Taraniki. He's going to watch that armory window, and they're not going to think that there's anybody there, Des. And as soon as somebody moves out here, this Sophia is going to open the wall up. Light's going to potentially push through, and Taraniki's going to get a freebie here. I almost guarantee it.
I think they just sprayed the breaching charge of the Zofia off the wall, so Light was forced to pull out the impacts and blow the wall light instead, just aware that they were not going to be able to get a gadget down on that wall. So even though it's a small thing, it's still another 5 to 10 seconds. They're chewing out FNATIC's time here. Yes, they've got themselves set up. Yes, they think everything else is clear, but this stab in the back from Taraniki could be the difference maker.
This is it, and they think that Big Tower is clear because they've got the Mozzie out of there. They don't think for a second that somebody else is going to have headed up there. Taraniki just needs to remain patient here. He knows there's somebody inside of Armory, so you have essentially got somebody locked out of the round. Merio going to take a ton of damage as well. No progress realistically yet on getting that closet wall properly opened. He's just trying to use his peak holes as best he can to find the man in pit, but it's not going to happen. Lily, he manages to find Take. That's advantage to FNATIC, and if they can avoid pushing across that Armory corridor, it's going to be a big bonus for them. Taraniki's had to move away. He's moving around on the flank, but he gets picked up on the flank draw. That is great play from FNATIC to spot the Oryx.
I think they know there's no one coming Freezer side as well, because the pressure that's come in from the Armory side of things out towards Trophy has been ridiculous. They know that's where it's coming in. A great swing and 2 kills coming for FNATIC as well. Candy not able to find his man. Taraniki getting one back. He's now back on site after coming up the hatch, but he's in a 1 versus 3. Has got to do it all, but Light there on the Trophy doorway hits the shot. FNATIC finding round 2.
FNATIC getting themselves into this game quickly. That is exactly what they wanted. Didn't want things running away from them, and Reject getting a couple of rounds on the board. So they managed to lock one down for us, and we see 1-0 on the scoreboard. FNATIC doing much better there at clearing out those roamers, particularly dealing with Salty very quickly up in T3, getting him out of the game. It was unfortunate for them to lose Chibisu so soon, but they pivoted, they adapted, and they came back well from that.
They did recover really, really well, yep. Back upstairs we go once again. Reject clearly not happy with how that round played out. Want to go for a bit of a different flair here, because you've got Salty now bringing along the Capcan, so not going to be sat inside of Big Tower Tier 3. Taraniki returning once again with the Oryx, everything else looking the same as it was before. A real big focus as well, it's worth noting, on this sort of anti-nade based play on this site. You've got the Jaeger and the Wamai now coming across in both rounds. Likelihood because they want to be able to hold down inside of Attic, stop them getting control, and normally a bunch of nades coming in is the way to go.
Interesting little attacker repick there, going from the Zofia to the Ying. There's going to be no Warden on side. There is a Jaeger and a Wamai, so there's potential utility there that could prevent those Candelas from detonating in the right place, at least, if not all together. But certainly one to watch where Light is pushing and where those gadgets might just be used to help get a plant down. We see this quite often where the Ying gets brought along before the Warden is picked up by the defenders. It can be a cheeky little pocket strategy, and it does tend to have a reasonable impact.
I think Taraniki there was hoping to get a bit cheeky and catch someone as they stepped in front of the white van to shoot out the default cam, but just about half a second behind where he needed to be for that to have any real impact. FNATIC have rotated most of their team here out towards this shower side, need to now sweep their way across, look for control of white stairs, for example, potentially get some nades coming in from below, which is why you've got Taraniki playing down here with the reinforced wall. They want to keep them as far back as Dining, if not inside a small tower itself, rather than conceding that control, because a way of getting around things like ADSs and magnets, Tim, is to lob in those nades from below, and you simply cannot stop them when you can't see them.
You really can't. Taraniki, he's going to hold his position inside a kitchen for the time being, likely to come under some pressure, but he's got his rotation through into security, so it does give him options. He's just peeking out into the corridor as well, trying to keep himself unpredictable. But work is continuing here for FNATIC. It's nice and steady. The drones are going in. They've got the diffuser on double window along with Light, so it looks like that is likely to be the Ingress point. Just get the Candelas in through double window, go inside, try and get a plant down, but they need to be aware of that Oryx underneath. Salty, of course, just lurking on the outside. Yura going to find no time. Take him down with a nade. That's the Wamai gone, and that is a big start for FNATIC.
Yeah, those nades, we spoke about the effects of them when they use from below especially. You've got that scope, you've got that room, you know, make good use of them. Look to find a couple of members, and getting rid of the Wamai, a key member to pick off. Because sure, there's no C4 on side, like bomb being used by Salty, but they're in and going for the plant. Chibisus against the back wall, the back wall, sorry. They've now also smoked off the rotate, so no one can come through. Taki getting one back, but that plant has been stuck. 2 quick kills coming back for Reject here. There's a man in the smoke, but they see his feet, unfortunately. They get the kill back. A 3 versus 2 for Reject. The Ying on the window, not even able to get a bullet out of that one. Tim Tadaniki into a 3K. Lily's left alive, and he can't quite find the next. It's an awkward 1 versus 1 here. No nades on side for Lily, but he knows he's got to push the man.
Just looking for those vertical shots underneath, but Candy's going to long arm it at the minute. Doesn't know exactly where he is. He's just spraying around. He sort of gets his fingertips, but not enough. Reject somehow able to stick the disable on the diffuser, and that is smart play from Candy, not putting himself directly on top of that case, just keeping his distance, and it was too much to ask. I just want to give a shout to Tadaniki as well for that beautiful swing onto double window. Pre-fires light on the Ying absolutely perfectly to give them the advantage there. Well played retake from Reject.
Yep, absolutely nothing really more to say about that one. Ying just largely ineffective. Sure, the smoke went through into the rotate, let them get across for the plant. But that was really about it. I honestly thought the play would have been to clear kitchen, get some nades coming in from below, soften up kids a little bit, open up holes in the floor so you can stop players playing inside of there, smoke out deep, say for example towards white, and then get your plant in maybe at the back of bunk, for example, something like that. But instead they went pretty route 101, direct to site, and that was the big focus. And sure, they got the plant down, they got a bunch of kills. It came down to a 1 versus 1 and required a 3K coming out of Tadaniki, but just not quite as complete in their attacking approach there I thought as maybe they could have been.
Salty bringing the Thorn along this time. Seems to be switching around operators quite a bit. We've got 2 Razor Blooms just inside of the door that leads from electrical onto the default plant spot, so trying to make it as difficult as possible for them to be able to push in and get that. We're going to see a presence in the mid floor again. I don't know how committed they are to the roam versus last time. There's 4 of them playing in and around site, so I'm surprised by Reject here. You know, they had so much success last time. FNATIC didn't really get that close, and they've chosen to sort of give up top floor this time and maybe not waste the same amount of time.
Really hard dug inside of security as well. Just doesn't care about that pressure coming in from the kitchen side. Just wants to focus entirely on towards white stairs, which is understandable. You've just seen FNATIC put all their focus on coming in from this west side in small tower across through showers. So trying to fight that angle is the way to play. And Tim, whenever I see 2 players playing like this, I'm always thrown back to that game that to this day still traumatizes me. BDS versus TSM at SI 2021, where BDS just threw 3 or 4 players into the meat grinder that I believe was Bolo and Merc playing in those 2 positions. So breaking it can be really difficult because you swing and put focus on one doorway, someone swings you from the other. And Nade coming in, Take playing the smart play of dropping himself away, and Salty also going back through the hatch. They feel they've drawn a bit of utility. They've drawn through to a couple of grenades. Best time to back away is now.
Salty's looking to get aggressive here. He's got shotgun in hand, of course, remember, and he's just looking to maybe push up onto those freezer stairs. He's going to hold himself just down at the bottom for the time being, but the mute jammer at the top of the stairs is going to make it difficult for FNATIC to drone this. They drop the drone through the hatch, Salty able to take it out, so they're going to know that this one, it might have been Take that took it down, though. They could be unaware of Salty at the bottom of those stairs, so keep an eye on that potential engagement. No time going to dip away from rear stage as pressure mounts down to pillars. FNATIC are ahead of the game here compared to their round 1 attack days. They are further on, they're more progressed than they were last time around at the halfway mark, and they might have an opportunity to get this diffuser down.
You're kind of getting the defenders squashed in here, which is normally the point of this defense, is trying to force them all in towards supply, stop them playing around pillar, around Shaiko spot. You know, I swear he could have saw his head there for a brief second, but I think it was more waiting for the metal to disappear away. If he gets this right, was waiting with the shotgun, but only finds half of Meryu, half his HP gone. Maybe an arm missing in the process, but he still stands for now with those 2 nades in back pocket.
It's certainly worth an attempt with the shotgun. You never know. You just hit that headshot on the hip fire, and it is job done. Maverick gone, but Merio will live to fight another day. We are pretty much turtled inside of sight now for Reject. The positives for them, they still have control of pillars. They still have control of highway. Very powerful spots. They've got Tadaniki on elbow, but FNATIC are starting to push in here. But as I say, Tadaniki on elbow, not been dealt with yet. Able to find 1 and 2. Diffuser down, kills raining in. They get one inside a highway as well. 4v2 now as Take is fighting from pillars. He sees the drop, he knows the challenge needs to be made, but here comes the shotgun. Salty starting to pump away, gets a kill, and Candy, he's going to finish it off. What an end from Reject. FNATIC just felt like they were rushing again, Des. They were running into bunker. There's somebody at elbow. You can't do that.
No, I think for them in that last little play, by the way, that's twice now FNATIC have opened up that single wall at the top of supply. Salty turning his back there, I was like, why? But the small change made by Reject was to open up a tiny little punch hole in the rotate off towards the right-hand side of Supply and Laundry and just shoot him back as soon as he stepped out for that swing onto Salty. It was like, I don't think it was intended to sacrifice Salty. It was just right time, right place with the player that was sat in that punch hole, but wonderful stuff coming out. Got to give it to TaDaNiKi as well. You know, he smokes it out. You think no one's going to cross. Two do run through the smoke anyway. But for him to swing out and get the first and then push up so aggressively for the second is absolutely mega. Basically won them the round there.
I'm just not sure what the Flores is doing there. I'm just not sure. You've got TaDaNiKi takes one from elbow. They're gonna be aware of that. You can't just run across elbow and go and stand at electrical wall with diffuser in hand. You know, there's nothing that you can realistically do there. You have to be prepared for that challenge coming in from TaDaNiKi. But nope, shot in the back and easy as that for Reject. We're going to be heading to the third choice site. It's going to be meeting this time around.
What a surprise. Look at what Operator was seeing. It's almost become synonymous with this site, even in Europe. Obviously here in APAC North, we've seen it a number of times as well. That Ossa and all the focus goes directly onto trying to push through the stage wall. Arguably, it can make things a little bit predictable or readable. Normally, you'll see, well, before Ossa came along, we used to have pushes coming in from dining side as well, where you just try and push in for meeting, you clear the top floor, you try and plant inside there. That's one way to go about it. But since Ossa's introduction, it has been exclusively about the stage wall.
Salty once again playing inside a big tower. We've seen this a number of times. He's got his rotation back through to APAC. Lily able to take down TaDaNiKi. They've been doing pretty well on the opening kills of FNATIC. They've had the majority of them, but they just don't seem to be able to convert into rounds. Reject are more than happy to play at a man disadvantage and just sort of churn their way back into it, just grind FNATIC down as the round goes on. But FNATIC now have got themselves access completely into big tower. That is exactly what they wanted. They'll send Yura in pretty quickly with the Ossa shields, start getting them down. They're going to be looking for one on that mid-levels, T2, so that they can look into APAC and prevent any flank. That's where the first one is likely to go. Or is he going to put it on the mezzanine looking into sight? Basically, you're going to get one of either. You're going to get one that looks into APAC and usually one that looks into sight, and then you're going to push forward from there.
Sometimes you get one on the green as well, looking down for that flank to stop anyone pushing up through kitchen, but here their focus is entirely on the site itself. All these X-Caras going down are going to give them some really good visibility in towards what's going on. I wouldn't be surprised to see some more coming out. Did he just drop down a Claymore? No. Don't think he did. No, it wasn't a Claymore. It was something else. But I thought I saw him putting down a Claymore, and I was like, hang on a second, but it was the Kona station. I was going to say, to try and run at a wall like that as it's being opened up and drop a Claymore there. Risky for one, readable at best.
Salty is going to be holding angles, as you say. He's got that utility to support him. He'll get juice back up should he take any damage. They know exactly his position now as the drone goes in and spots him out. He's going to hold on, but he may well just drop away. There we go. He's just deciding that things are getting a little bit too hot, but surely they're going to be aware of this. He's going to switch out to his second.
They do know.
They do. I was going to say, I was just sort of focusing on whether they were aware of his presence or not as he moved up the stairs, but they certainly are. He's going to just keep peeking. He's trying to be a nuisance here, but it's 5v3, and this is not going to be easy now for Reject to hold on.
Oh, and he's being an absolute nuisance because he's not even backing away, right? I mean, they could nade him if they wanted to, but they really don't fancy it. Salty pushing his way up, shotgun in hand, but can't quite find Meryu. Hits him first. Take left in a 1 versus 5, finds himself one, but can't get the next. Light yet again with the closing kill, and that was around really where it felt like Reject were pushing so aggressively at FNATIC that FNATIC barely had to move their feet.
Not the end of the world for Reject there. It was the third choice site. They don't really expect to necessarily lock it down, and they're going to be able to head back to Dorms, which they won back in round 3. So they're going to be fairly happy with this. If they can get a 4-2 half, it gives them a nice advantage going into the second stage of this matchup. But FNATIC, they were much better there in meeting for me. They got big tower, they got the map control that they needed, which it suited them, did the site, because they've been struggling to clear out large areas of the map. They didn't have to clear out a large area. All they needed was big tower. They got that done quickly. They got the shields down. They pressured into site. They made life difficult for Reject. There was no comfort to be found for them anywhere inside a site there, and that's what FNATIC needed to do. They need to take the lesson from that, and they need to work quicker here in round number 6. And to be honest, just don't lose your hard breach, Chibisu. We saw that previously. It makes life difficult. They still managed to get the win when they did, but still, keep your hard breaches, get them into the building, and just get site opened up as quickly as possible.
Bit of a different lineup coming in here as well for the side of Reject. They've got the smoke coming along. They've got a Rooney on side. No Wamai coming in, mind you, so that's kind of been the big sort of drop away for them to be able to introduce the smoke instead. Attacking-wise, only real change is that Flores coming in, which we haven't yet seen for this site, but it's almost the acknowledgement of, okay, then we've seen the smoke, maybe there's bulletproofs going down as well. Those Flores will really help us clear out big key locations like Pit here that's got a shield on it. I believe it's got an ADS there. Wouldn't be surprised if a Banshee's inside of APAC as well. But I always say to him, whenever I see that Flores, it does slow a round down. It takes, what, 60 to 90 seconds to go through all 4 of those drones and clear out the right areas of the map. Light is going to stay basically here until he's gone through all of those. But Salty has got an eye on him, knows that that shield needs to stay standing. I was going to say there's 0 chance that range reaches that far. Surely not. Doesn't find the shield, but does get the gadgetry that would have stopped him otherwise.
That's it. Going to be taking down the second Rotero. Salty sees it coming in through the door, shoots it out.
No, he's
Always interest. Ooh,
Oh,
Chibisu
baited.
manages to find the kill. That's going to allow Light, perfectly timed, to get the Rotero in there, clear out the ADS and the shield, and that is great progress from FNATIC. A big opener, and they're going to open up that wall into Pit as well, using the Rotero for that soft destruction that we sometimes see, giving them an alternative angle and making Take's stay here a little bit more untenable.
It's starting to feel that way, isn't it? You've lost the man that was really giving you your frontline cover inside a trophy, which means you're now much more exposed. They get one more through and get rid of the shield in there, and I think the ADS is positioned. That's absolutely wonderful work then being done by Light. He's gone through all of his drones now, though, so that simply can't happen. Chibisu going to start helping with an opening of things up. They've already got that line directly through now, so at least they can challenge inside of Pit, but trying to unseat the man might take a little bit more work.
Chibisu just holding the angle from the balcony for the time being. There is a little view in there. Uses a couple of pellets just to burn away that laser gate, and then can push forward, look to get himself established inside a closet potentially, but just needs to be aware of that soft wall that's been opened up. He's got Merio on the angle for the time being and just droning it out to see exactly what's going on, and it's going to be no time that they find and that they have to clear before they can start pushing in for any potential plant. Instead, Chibisu's going to go long and probably open up that wall potentially a little bit more into Pit. If he creates an angle, it's going to force the player away.
There's no one actually inside a Pet anymore, I don't think. Good nade coming in, tickling Take there as well. A little more of a throw to that one. It could have been him going down and making this a 5 versus 3. We're getting down to the kind of the thin ends of things here, Tim. 30 seconds on the clock, and Lily gets that second. That's what you're looking for to start opening things up. No time with a swing. That window is cursed, it feels, in this first half of FNATIC. Anyone who's played there has been swung and died. Candy looking for the one more, but Light on the floor is a little bit too quick on the trigger to pull him down. 4 versus 2 and 15 seconds left.
A real opportunity for Reject there, and I don't know if Candy's maybe just gone a little bit aggressive, but Take has no choice but to do exactly the same. This time he finds his man though. Kill onto Light, 8 seconds left to go, and Chibisu needs to find a way in here to start putting this diffuser down. Take is just chipping away. He gets himself another. It's 2v1 as the kill comes in as a trade from FNATIC. Merio finding it and finding the second as well. Take closed down on the rotate, and that is going to be FNATIC leveling things up 3-3 at the half, and what a second half we've got on our hands here. It's mouth-watering.
Ooh, well, we got that 3-3 half the analysts were looking for as well. For FNATIC to get 3 attacking rounds, it feels like that's as many as they found throughout the whole stage. For those who haven't watched too much of APAC North, they haven't been the strongest attacking team. So to walk away with 3 is a really big deal. Now they flip onto the defense, where they've had a pretty good success rate overall. I'd start to feel a bit nervous if I were Reject, Tim.
Very possibly. FNATIC are going to be a little bit of a different beast here, I would expect, to the one that we've seen. They've been scrappy in that first half. They've been able to get things done despite setbacks like losing the hard breach. Pretty impressed with what FNATIC have managed there. They were blessed a little bit, I think, by over-aggression from Reject. As I said, Candy stepping out into Armory Corridor. I'm not sure that's really necessary at that point. You've got him down to 3v3. Maybe just try and hold your angles a little bit more, play a little bit more passively. But, you know, all said and done, that's what he attempted to do, and Light was there ready to take him down. So we're going to be down to Laundry for FNATIC's first defence. They're going to have, I'm wondering if they're going to have a presence out in the map as Reject did in round 1, or whether it's going to be largely site-based. It's looking like the latter at the minute, with Chibisu grabbing that final hatch. We've got 4 downstairs, I think. 3 downstairs, 4 downstairs, 5 downstairs. They've all headed back, and that's going to be FNATIC turtling up on site.
Yeah, this is what we're very used to seeing on this site, but I think a comment a few people have made over the last few weeks since all the stages have started around the world is, with attacker repick in play, you're giving them all the time in the world to pull off the perfect comp, get the perfect execute if you don't look to challenge them. And that, I think, is why you're starting to see these 3-floor roams, or I guess 2-floor, the 2 top floors, roams on this map, is because you need to be disruptive towards the attackers. You've got to find that early pick. You've got to slow them down. You've got to do everything you can to stop this highly optimal comp they built for the site that you're on from being able to do what it does best. So, getting out in the map is normally the go-to play, but FNATIC have opted here to dig in back. That could come back to bite them later.
Salty up in the attic, just opening up that vertical angle. Take pushing through as well under the support of the sledge. Going to take down the default cam, send in the Gemini decoy, and just have a look at what's going on at rear stage. And exactly that, we're reaching that point where they've got themselves inside of the map. They're confident they've got that mid-floor control. So you now have a pause. That's stage 1 complete, and you start droning out before you head into stage 2, which is going to be clearing hatches and utility.
Absolutely. Well, they've got the flyers on side as well, so that will slow things down when they come to getting set up with that. We're at about that halfway mark in the round. This is where you expect to see Noton getting busy on removing those shields, getting rid of the Banshees, things along those lines. FNATIC just digging in and waiting to see what happens next here, really, whilst Rejects get the full run of the map. They've had a good, 45 seconds so far to do whatever they want, and they're still going about it now.
Salty manages to squirrel a drone away there. I don't think Eura's seen it. Oh, a couple of bullets. Yep, there you go. Eura's picked it up. Important one, because that would have been feeding a lot of information about Freezer and Highway back into the attacking team. But as you say, cleared out now. Does No Time get this? No Light is ready to take it down, but the shield already out of elbow. It's not there. Whether it's been removed or whether it's been taken down, it looks like it's been shifted. Yeah, it's going to be on the rotation instead. Although there was 2 shields, so it could be that it's been destroyed. Oh no, Highway.
It's just tucked in so well.
We've found it. We've found it. We've got it. It's on Highway. So they've got the 2 shields, and Elbow's been relocated, given that there hasn't been a lot of pressure in there. Nade's going to fly in from Laundry, and here comes the final reject push.
Yep, chipping away into Mary there as well, who's the one dug in on Highway behind that shield initially. Finds the entry as he steps out. Tadaniki now having a good time these last few rounds. Keeps on getting picked up super early on in relatively unfortunate gunfights as well. Salty just holding here and waiting for the smoke to dissipate, but going to go crouch walking his way through, but does get forced back by that razor bloom. Can't go much further, and that'll be the trigger sign towards the defenders that a push is coming in. Take swinging around. Can you see the man? Yes, he can. Finds the 1 kill, opens things up a little bit, almost goes through a teammate, but patiently waits and then finds the kill. Gets 3 from inside of Freezer. There's 1 more on Pillar, but can he find him? He's here in a 1 versus 2. No, he can't. Light comes out with a shotgun, and Tim, I've got to commend Light. There's probably been now 4 rounds where he's the one getting the closing kill in these rounds in what is a pretty critical situation. When there's a man, for example, sat behind Bunk who's trying to stop the planter, in that case there, where there's someone walking in towards site and you haven't got full awareness of where he is, he's playing really well in these closing moments.
I've got to commend FNATIC overall, really, for that defensive round. I thought it was pretty nice. They controlled the site very well. They moved utility. They adjusted what they were doing based on what was presented by the attackers. No pressure into bunker, so we moved the shield. We put it on the rotation. They did everything they could to give themselves the advantage. But for Take coming down, you may well be thinking, but yes, it finished a 2v1. It was pretty close, but that was only due to Take just going wild out of Freezer and managing to get himself 3. You know, you can't rely on that every time.
Nope.
And FNATIC, I think, managed that round really, really well. 4-3, and they head up to the top floor now. It's going to be Dorms, and I tell you what, if FNATIC get this, Reject are seriously on the back foot at that point.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we were speaking at the start of that round about how much space Rejects have been given all the time in the world to set up perfectly for their go-to execute, and still FNATIC hold them at bay. A lot of it, honestly, though, is coming down to these kind of awkward gunfights where Reject there were really starved out. They had the razor blue and the smokes in their faces. They lose one to Meryu at range. They then have to storm their way through in towards the kind of washing machines off towards the right-hand side where there's a man waiting. If not for Taka getting that 3K, Reject really had no hope in that round because they were losing so many critical gunfights. So although they did all the right stuff in the first 2 minutes, when it came around to the execute, it went a little bit ranked 101, right? Push in, try and find the kill, hope for the best. You need a bit more coordination than that if you're going to break open a supply and laundry defense by FNATIC.
Take just droning in towards Master, making sure that Closet is clear. They're wanting to get themselves established inside of there. Not really pushing for rear tower at the minute. It is all looking towards Armory, Master, Closet, Trophy. They want control of that. Now, interestingly, pit wall has been double reinforced. We see sometimes half of that being left soft so that you can challenge out of there. That's not going to be the case this time. So it's going to allow a little bit of freedom, as you can see, for Taraniki here to be able to move in. And he's just going to hold that door while his team position and posture around him and look to get themselves ready for this final push. Take is going to move in and swap over with him, and TadanIki can then go to open that closet wall.
They're going to nade it. Salty should get it from the roof here and get rid of that as well. As soon as the nade comes rifling on in, flashing it out to make sure there's no ADSs or anything like that to catch it. In comes the nade, open goes the wall. Easy peasy, 1, 2, 3.
Light, easy peasy, 1, 2, 3 with a nitro on to Take, and that is an absolute freebie to begin with. No real risk to Light there, as once again he gets one of those potentially round-defining kills that you were talking about, Des. Just doing such important work for FNATIC right now. 5 versus 4, Take down, and a good advantage for FNATIC here, especially on a top floor site, that as the round goes on, it gets more and more difficult to aggress onto, especially if there is a high man count left for the defenders.
Salty Pen and Kid's window is fine, but they've got no control inside of APAC here, so a man can just swing him on the window. In goes TadanIki in a great spot to get the plant down here, and Salty does get the kill onto Euro. That's what you're looking for. No trade coming through. Plant's about to get stuck out, and despite the white push coming up, it's simply not enough. Candy finding one, gets it down to the second as he gets pushed aggressively. Make it a third from the trophy door. They had no idea he was there waiting. Meryu pulls it back though. It's a 1 versus 1. Salty was on Kid's window last seen. Here is in below. Nade in hand. He's got to connect this right now, else it's round done and dusted. It's a freebie for him. Slam dunk into Meryu, and they find the round.
There's a little bit of me worrying there about that nade, just getting it absolutely right. All it takes is a bounce away from that ceiling, a slight miss time, and that would have been stuck. But a good attack in the end from Reject. Very opportunistic. I think Des just able to spot the moment that they could get in there. We had the wild attempt by the Oryx just sort of flailing through towards games to try and take TadanIki down before he was able to secure that plant, but just couldn't quite get there in time, and then was immediately traded out as well. It was a big round for Candy, ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
Real play from him, just hitting shots at 180 degrees and giving his team what they needed to get that one over the line.
Yeah, I think they kind of tunnel visioned a little bit onto the plant as well. You know, 2 players, 3, all trying to push on the planter rather than worrying about, okay, who's covering him? Because you're not going to go for a plant without cover realistically unless it's a well and truly Hail Mary play. And that cover was indeed waiting in the form of Candy on that trophy door. We go towards Dining and Kitchen this round then, so no meeting being brought out like we saw back in the first half. Dining and Kitchen with a Chanka on side of all things as well, Tim. Now, we've had a lot of chats about Chanka. I'm always talking about Chanka lately, it feels like. Very good if you want to be denying away a fixed plant spot. Not so good if you want to stop people pushing through. That's where Smoke tends to come into his own a little bit more. So curious to see where Light sets up here, what it is that he's trying to deny. Ultimately can't forget about that LMG and the amount of soft destruction that it also gives to the team, mind you.
Well, a good example of that there as the entire soft wall between Kitchen and Dining has been taken out. Shield placed in front of it, and I dare say that's where we're going to see the Tachanka playing. Yura manages to take down Take. Knock, knock. Who's there? It's Yura managing to find a big opener for FNATIC.
That Joker's got so many layers to it because it's a not being killed. It was through the front door. It just builds upon itself.
You are welcome.
It just builds on itself. It pains me, but I respect it. Getting rid of that knock is arguably...
Don't hate the player, Des. Don't hate the player.
Hate the game. In that case, finding the knock is like a dream as well, because you know Take's plan was to go and be all sneaky, hit you in the back when you're looking elsewhere. With him off the board now, you lose just so much. That capability of kind of the upset, plus the 2 frag grenades. It's a real stinger for the side of Reject.
2 drones taken out, and that's good progress. Only 7 remaining. Reject need to make sure that they're trying to keep hold of those as best they can. They don't want to be throwing them away. They're going to need that information, especially with Imman short. Lily challenging on towards the windows. He's going to hold on to the showers position for as long as he can. In comes a flashbang that's just going to try make his life difficult, along with the Tachanka there, but no real push, no real progress from behind those flashes by Reject. They do manage to clear out the shield, which is likely the ultimate target there, as TadanIki is able to move in and start getting the diffuser down again. Chibisu does manage to get himself a good one, but he's going to stick this, Des, and now they find themselves 3 versus 5, but they have the diffuser down, and they can just start defending it.
At range as well is the worst part. Chanka not really adding much into that defense at all. Now they've got to try and see what they can do as another swing comes in. Last man is playing above, and they must know there's nades being thrown in. There's 2 pushing at once. That is the way you play trade. 1 goes down, but the second man is there ready and waiting. FNATIC are going to stick the disable, and they go up 5 and 4.
Much better on the retake there from FNATIC. Not so much of a Hail Mary this time, with Merio just trying to stick the defuse as they did back in round number 8. This time round 9, able to just really clearly go in there and surgically remove Reject from that plan. The question for me there for FNATIC, the big question mark left on that round is, how are they letting Taraniki keep walking into site and putting that diffuser down so quickly with so much time left on the clock? He's finding the cracks and he's completely taking advantage of them.
Beautiful stuff. Really, really good stuff. I will give it to Reject, though. 2 plants in a row as well. They are definitely getting focused on the objective, which I think coming into not just the league, but even into Playday 7, many wouldn't expect all that much from Reject. They are this newer team that are brand new to Tier 1. Many said on day 1, it should have been Sengoku Gaming here, and Reject didn't put out the most admirable performances for the first 2 or 3 days. But that objective-based focus here, even when you're a man down, really speaks volumes to the work this team is doing to improve.
Absolutely, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Ultimately, Reject are the ones who made it. That's the fact, and they are living up to expectations at this point. They're exceeding expectations, I would say. They've come in here. Nobody would have thought that they'd potentially be fighting for a playoff place on the last day, but that's the position that they potentially find themselves in. If they get 3 here, they level themselves up on points with the other teams fighting for 4th spot, and then they just need to see what happens with the rest of the day and basically see how the cookie crumbles, see what it comes down to when all is said and done. So the fact that Reject are even in that position, even if they don't get the 3 points, even if they don't get themselves into that position to fight for a playoff spot, to see what tumbles down at the end of things, this has still been, for me, a successful stage for Reject.
Yeah, massively, I think. Even without T1, who in the last game we saw lose and miss out probably here on a top 4 spot, it's still a massive improvement on what we saw from them last year. So even though teams aren't necessarily making it to playoffs and have a shot at the major, it's still the improvement that really, really counts. I thought for a second we were going to see Reject stick to a Japanese classic there and bringing along the Monty, but at the last second they're going to change away here, go for a little bit more of a, I don't want to say questionable, but a buck and a sledge coming onto a site with no real soft destruction is a little bit questionable. I think actually what's happened is they've droned out the fact that there is no reinforcements, there is a lot of roaming on the go. So if they want to try and be able to break through some walls, get some vertical cover down onto the first floor, in that case, it's not the end of the world.
We'll see how it plays out. We'll see where that utility is used. That's something to keep your eye on. Another thing to keep your eye on is almost sort of keeping a watch on what's not there for the attackers. Are they missing some utility? Is there a wall that they can't get open? Is there something that causes them a problem that can't be cleared, that they can't get to? Sometimes you have to watch for the negative as well as the positive. It's not just about what has been brought, it's about what's not been brought, what else could have been in that position. So something to keep an eye on there. For the time being, Salty gets himself quickly into dorms. He's going to start using that vertical utility to try and just open up onto areas like the freezer stairs, areas like the kitchen, and make it difficult for FNATIC defenders to stay in there.
They haven't reinforced a single hatch, by the way, on the ground floor. Like all 3, I think 2 are open, security and meeting, and the one inside the lobby has just been left soft. So those are being committed elsewhere to help them really stage a hold. I wouldn't be surprised if the stage wall, that's reinforced off, which helps them hold inside of there. Maybe 1 or 2 on the upstairs, plus then downstairs also in consideration. Just interesting to see when we're not used to seeing this sort of thing, huh? Or that.
Terrifying as Take took up the same angle as Salty there, but they managed to work around each other and come away with 1 kill each. It's going to be Lily and Yura who go. That is full control for Reject of meeting, and this is looking dire for FNATIC. It looks like we're almost certainly going to be heading towards round number 12 as a guarantee here, as a minimum, because right now in a 5 versus 3, Reject have got map control. They've just paused. You don't worry, don't adjust your screens. They are not moving, but it's because they're in the drones.
Absolutely. When you've already got yourself a massive advantage like that, right? Bringing down 2, it's all well and good. Oh, do they see the man dip? Do they know that he's slunk back here? Because if they don't, they do absolutely. He gets 1 kill, gets 2! What a flick from Shibisu! 1 man straight onto the other, a bit of spray transfer, but the attackers have already hit the site. Mary was left entirely alone. C4 over the top. I think he's going to miss ever so slightly there. Was just on the top of the doorway. He's got some work to do here. Pushes his way through, but Salty is ready. They get the closeout there. Reject hitting FNATIC hard and fast. And FNATIC, despite what we said back in round 7 about that turtle defense, maybe it's a better call than the Rome-based one, Tim.
Certainly looks that way. They kept much better control of site last time whilst giving up the rest of the map. And this time they just looked like they were butter spread too thin over bread. There, Des. They were just too far.
What an expression. That's when bread's not very good, is it?
There's a reference in there if you look deep enough. So we're going to be...
Give me 5 minutes.
We're going to be heading into round number 11. And it's going to be a defense of meeting this time now. This is an interesting choice from FNATIC. They don't have dining available because they won that in round 9, but they do have dorms available. However, they've only tried dorms once back in round 8 and Reject won it. So choosing instead to go to one of those tertiary sites, usually a third choice, instead of going upstairs to dorms. So it just speaks to, maybe you could call it respect, you could call it fear, you could, I don't know what it is from FNATIC. They don't want to go near dorms.
Please explain the bread joke to me.
It's not a joke, it's just a reference.
What's the reference?
It was used in Lord of the Rings.
Was it?
Yeah.
Mate, there's about 9 to 10 hours worth of film.
There is, but, you know, if you were a fan.
Which you are, big fan. Fair play. The Oscar is back on side once again. We keep on speaking about this when attacking onto this site. So for Reject, you can have one guess. I'll give you literally one guess at where this attack is going to come from. And it's going to involve Candy coming in from Big Tower. Sorry, Tim, I've already spoiled the guess for you there. But we all know that's just a go-to at this point as well. So look out for what FNATIC try and do, because we saw a bit of flank-based play coming out of Reject. I think it was Salty trying to do work from below last time round. Will that catch the ADS? I'm pretty sure it will. Yes, it will. I was so worried that was on the left side
of the pillar.
And it would have blocked the destruction line. I'd have been like, oh no. But yeah, it gets it.
Could have been a little bit of a nightmare, but as you say, nope, those throwables will be able to rain into rear tower. Candy going to get the first of the 2 shields established. That's going to be Talon Shield at the top of those rear stage stairs, so they will be able to look into attic and prevent any vertical play. And then the next will either be used into site or it will be used on the little stair mezzanine. For the time being, it looks like it will be the mezzanine, and that will look down into site itself. It may well be repositioned later in the round to aid the push through the wall once it's been opened.
Got rid of the Echo Shield as well to slowly forcing them back further and further. Really, they need to be getting rid of that mute jammer that's just sat inside. They've got themselves some control on the top floor. They've got the Maverick they can play behind as well. If that is gone, then surely they can open it up. But for now, they keep on missing. There's also 2 impacts in Chibisu's back pocket. If he places these well, they might be able to just deny this outright, which will be absolutely beautiful. Instead, there it goes. Not going to be able to get there in time as Chibisu just has to kind of watch on. One gone.
That's important. Impact nade landed perfectly there to take the Talon Shield down. It's going to allow Chibisu an opportunity to be challenging from behind the sandbags. He's actually going to drop himself a little bit deeper here as Candy just replaces that shield with the one from Attic. It's something they need to be aware of, but right now there's nobody above as a threat, and I'm sure that Reject have checked that out. Chibisu, he's going to be playing from deep in behind that shield, just trying to hold them off from pushing through the breach.
Really, patience and discipline from Chibisu is going to be the big deal here. He's the one that has got the tool to deny that shield. Yes, you've got Light also sat playing on the C4, but much easier to shoot out. The impact, of course, can't be stopped by mere bullets, so much easier to connect, assuming they try and step inside. But for the side of Rejects here, we're thinking about time, because we are down to the last 40, but Take going to start opening the scores with Meryu going down.
That's a big start from Reject there, and they had Salty trying to push in from the small tower side, but the Razor Balloon backed him off, and Merio was able to go and check the angle, knowing that that gadget had detonated. Now then, Lily could be on a massive flank. They've no idea, Des. They don't know. He's just going to hold his position. He's just going to wait for them to push across. He just needs to stay quiet here. Hold your breath, Lily. There you go. Chibisu it is that actually finds no time. Lily is still in position. He's taking shots. They must know that he's there. He's just trying to play his life and hold on to the diffuser. He's going to do it, Des. He's going to get himself a kill onto the Maverick. Take manages to find Light, but the time's ticking down. 2 seconds left to go. 3v1 shut down. Chibisu able to close out the round, and FNATIC are the ones that get themselves the opportunity to shut this down inside of 12 and take a full 3 points.
Tim, we said at the very start of the round, you know, think about Salty on his flank and the annoyance he was bringing from basement. Well, we've just seen it happen again. I think it was in EUL, we saw a team respond to that by putting a drone inside a tarp out towards construction side, and it's a really long-range drone, but you can see when the player starts to work their way up those stairs. Fortunately, he didn't really do any damage because it was Chibisu that got the kill and they knew he was there, but he finds those 2 kills and they're kind of panicked. Then it's like, we can't swing, so if we swing him, then our backs are towards stage, just want to kill us from inside of sight. We've got a nade in, but there's not enough time, and it was all just panic there in the final few seconds. These basement flanks are becoming a real terror for these meeting attacks.
And I come back to the Nomad ban.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. playing potentially a big part, but it was Reject who banned the Nomad out, and it is Reject now suffering the consequences of not being able to secure and monitor their flanks. Lily able to make a real nice move there, and it was just perfectly timed as well, Des. That was a really big factor for me. The timing there just was everything, because as you say, they had no time to deal with him. They wanted to get a nade in there, but it was just rushed. It was thrown. He was able to survive the blast. He wasn't there, very clever. He survived the blast. They couldn't get it into the right corner, the right angle, and he was able to take down the Maverick as he tried to push back in, and it was just so nice from Lily to win the round. You can sit and stare at me all you want.
I do every night, mate. That door between our hotel room, just slide it open. Watch you while you sleep.
Things got creepy.
Well, things are about to get a hell of a lot creepier, because in comes a Monty, and everyone knows the fear you get. You see that Monty walk around the corner, and you're just like, oh, for God's sake. Like, what do we do about this then? Normally you've got a C4 inside, it's great, or impacts or something to stagger him, but they don't really have that. They can hold him back with the Razor Blooms. They've got 3 smokes to play behind, but Salty is in a real power position this round because they just did not expect the Monty to be brought along. Let's see what damage he can do. He's already inside a freezer. Tim, it's 60 seconds in, and he's already working his way through such a key location.
This is it, but the Banshee's holding him up at the minute, and you can see Salty just look towards that hatch because he wants somebody to get it open, because once they do, he can step forward, he can trigger the Banshee, and they can shoot it out for him. But up until that point, Salty is pretty much held up, and he's going to potentially find himself then trying to rush. As you can see, Taraniki getting over to that hatch as quickly as possible to allow that Banshee to be taken down. For me, as you said, there's the utility that's going to come in key here are those Toxic Babe canisters. They are going to be the real meat of this defence now, to try and hold that Monty at bay, to try and prevent that push coming through.
I think at this sort of spot, he's just here to keep them honest as well, whilst the team go about doing everything else that has to be done, like getting hatches. Hopefully, there should be no nasty surprises. We've seen teams get absolutely ruined by a player sat behind that box in deep freezer, but the Monty pushing up pretty safe from that can get himself on that freezer door and start feeding information back and forth. In comes the one, it's Diana stepping in, a bit of an awkward back and forth, but that shield still stands, Tim.
Going to continue to challenge here, Merio. He's got them on each angle of his 90 degrees. He's just going to be able... That's big. I said it would be the Toxic Babe utility, and it is indeed. Light, once again, with a huge moment for FNATIC, able to take Salty down. And that's the shield gone. Monty out of it, and this attack has just lost some of its teeth, but Taraniki, he manages to take a bite out of Chibisu, but the kill comes in from the Razor Blue. Merio double light with the last, and that's going to be the walls tumbling down for Reject, as FNATIC are able to get themselves a solid win on the final Playday.
Absolutely wonderful for FNATIC. It doesn't change anything. They don't get their way into the top 4, but it's still ending on a high with a win against your Japanese rivals. Now, some would argue a bit too close for comfort, going down to 7 and 5, and there were some wonderful rounds coming out from Reject, but FNATIC just doing enough to get it over the finish line.
I enjoyed the performance from both teams there. They had their moments, they were exciting to watch, but ultimately FNATIC on the defence, for me, was where they took it. They were just that little bit stronger. They had the answers. Salty on the Monty just being taken out, neutralised, and for me, in that moment and in the game, Light was the difference maker.
It's kind of like how we summarised it as well for Reject. You know, they were really good, it felt, in the early round at getting inside the building, getting set up around site, but then when it came to the execute itself, that's when the cracks really started to show. But for a first stage, that is not a bad entry into APAC North, getting a couple of wins on the way as well. Not a bad outcome, but FNATIC, no doubt we'll see some more from them when it comes round to stage 2. For now, let's go to a quick break, and when we come back, our desk will break that game down for you.